was how they immediately just went there. It was Pat Riley like,
Yeah.
we're going to do it again. Like, it was like they immediately went to, like, we want to be back here, and their core is coming back. They're able to running back. They obviously have two young stars or superstars in their primes at 28 and 26, I believe, Jokic and Murray are respectively. So I was hesitant yesterday, Kurt, to say the dynasty word, to speak the D word, but it seems like that's the discussion today, is whether or not Denver is poised to be a dynasty. I was reluctant because I did not want to do a disservice or discredit how hard that is. But it does seem like they're on the precipice of being here for a while.
Yeah, they're completely set up for it, aren't they? Like you said, I mean, Michael Porter Jr. is 24. They also, all 5 of those starters are back next year, and 4 of them, KCP's got a player option. 4 of them are locked up beyond that. And they made dynastic moves, right? Like they drafted Christian Brown, who had a role in this, but they just traded their 2029 pick to get picks in the next couple of drafts, just so they can keep adding young, inexpensive pieces, which is what you're going to have to do under the new CBA. I think they're set up. I think you guys like this Denver background. You better get used to it, because I think, 3 out of the next 5 finals, 4 out of the next 6 could easily be here if they can just stay healthy. They've got everything else locked down.
Well, but don't we have to, when you say 6, 4 out of the next 6, see, that's a lot. Because the game's going to have to change a little bit when that new CBA
as the Warriors fan giggles.
Yeah.
That's face just screams, the Warriors ain't done yet. The Warriors ain't. Go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
But I'm not even talking about the Warriors, though. I'm not even talking about the Warriors. I'm just talking about financially, Kurt.
Yeah.
I know they're locked up, but are they going to be able to do that and pay, that second apron and paying that luxury tax and possibly losing draft picks if they don't get their financial house in order? Shouldn't we be thinking about the next year or 2, and we can't go beyond that, because that's a brave new world. We really haven't seen that yet.
There's going to be unintended consequences, right? And we don't know what it's going to look like, not just for the Nuggets, but Milwaukee. They're getting old and very expensive this summer, right? With Brooke Lopez as a free agent. Natalie's certainly talked about it with the Warriors. Like, it's a dance to stay under that cap. That second apron, it might as well be a hard cap, honestly. The way it ties your hands, you can go over it for a year maybe, but you can't live there the way that they did, which was the intention of this. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I think that Denver is better set up. And every other team you talk about taking them out in the West comes with an if. Natalie and her Warriors, like,
everybody's old or not ready.
But they're old. Yeah.
Yeah.
If the Phoenix Suns can get depth around Booker and Durant, if the Lakers can stay healthy, yada, yada, everything else is an if. This team is set up to be that team for the next, I would say, 5 years at least. I think that they're capable of doing it. But yeah, we'll see. It's going to be so hard to put together teams like this with Bruce Brown and KCP. Like, that's going to be the hard pieces to get now.
Nat, you got something on this?
Yeah, well, I have a question, and then I had something. That apron, it doesn't kick in to not that it's not until not this upcoming season. It's the following season, right? Am I correct in that?
It exists this season, but the real penalties don't kick in till not the 23 summer, but the 24 summer, right?
Yeah, my only hesitance is not really specifically about the Warriors. It was just a couple of years ago when the Bucks won that dynasty talk and they're set up to do all this.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do the day after the championship.
Exactly.
Right. So that's why I'm laughing, because I actually appreciate it yesterday, Michael, when you said, like, I'm not going to use that word because it's disrespectful to the teams who have done it, because it's very hard. I mean, in fact, the Warriors players themselves were sort of turned off by Joe Lacob, just thinking he could replicate what he did with them, because it is a very hard thing to do. And so it's not just like, okay, yes, right now on paper, the Nuggets are set up to do well and hopefully make many, many postseason runs. But that's part of it, right? It's the attrition. They're new to going deep in the postseason and having to do that over and over and over again. That starts to take a toll on you, right? So there's and then there's just the other team. and you don't know what other teams are going to do and how they're going to what they're going to do, not just the Warriors, but other teams around the league. So when I just hear the dynasty talk, I do think it's very premature. I do think it's disrespectful to the dynasty teams who have done it. And it's just the way I am by nature. I am very like, let people do things before we start like awarding them stuff.
Very,
and that's just how I operate.
No, it is very much
premature.
more easily said than done. Sorry, Kirk, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's premature, but I think that they are set up on a path to it if they can execute it. It's one thing to say that, and it's another thing to actually do it when it's going to be brutally difficult. And like you said, the new CBA makes things. Michael was right. I don't know what it's going to look like in 3 years. Nobody really does.
So let's just stay with that theme, shall we? Because we've gone from, in some corners, talk that Nikola Jokic might be overrated to now where does he rank among the great big men to ever play. That's how quickly things can change now that he is one of 11 players joining Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Moses Malone, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Steph Curry, and Tim Duncan as players with 2 MVPs and a Finals MVP. How should we properly, after this historic postseason run on the part of Nikola Jokic, Kurt, how should we properly rank Jokic in the pantheon of great centers, great big men, great players, because we are contractually obligated to do that now that he is the unofficial best player in the world?
I think everybody you just mentioned on that list, though, did it over a really long stretch of time. And I think that that's what Jokic has left, right? It's one thing to do it for, look, he's had a great 3-year run, and he's could have a much longer run. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that as his athleticism fade, it's not going to affect his game like some other players. But it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to do it. He's set up for this, but even Shaq had a longer peak. You've got to be able to do this for another 3-4 years before we can and win another ring or two before we start to really throw you in with. I'm not putting him up there with Duncan yet. Like, I'm not putting him up there with Shaq yet. He's got work to do to get to that level, but he's 28, man. He's got
a great resume.
To use Natalie's term, when he's 33, 34, this is an interesting conversation.
I'm curious because I just really quickly, would you rank him or Giannis higher right now in terms of like all time based on what they've both accomplished so far?
It's a really good question. I don't have to think about that.
Yeah.
I think
because they got the same resume,
Jokic
right?
Both
2.
Yeah, sort of.
Both 1. Yeah.
I would probably put Jokic a little higher just because we're going to refer to him forever as the best passing big man ever, and frankly, that probably does a disservice to how good a passer is. He's like one of the best passers the game has ever seen. Where Giannis, greatest athlete the game has ever seen, but I'm not sure. Like, I don't want to diminish his skill set because we're like now nitpicking, but like his game is more based on athleticism, where I kind of gravitate towards the skill guys. That's why Magic has always been my favorite.
Hey, Kirk, I just want to tell you, like, Wilt just contacted me from beyond the grave about that greatest athlete the game has ever seen. So one other thing I want to hit with you guys is the future of the Miami Heat. 2 finals losses in 4 years. Mike, have you seen these reports today about them going star hunting? Which, let's keep in mind, Tyler Hero wasn't with them since Game 1 against the Bucks. Maybe the issue, Michael, and I'll give this to you before we go to Kurt and Natalie, because you got an interesting item in your feed about Jimmy and his finish. Yeah. But, Kyrie Irving and Heat culture, that feels weird. Reportedly, they went after him earlier this season, or, considered it. Maybe they circle back. Mike, you first, and then Kurt and Natalie, y'all follow Michael on. Where did the Heat go from here, Michael?
Yeah, and that's the question, and I want to. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about it, because I think the Heat culture thing. It's been a long time. Think about it. When they've won championships, they've done it. When they've actually won championships, they did it with a second-year Dwayne Wade, second-year guard forward Dwayne Wade, so young player. Then they won their 2 with young players all in their primes, LeBron and Wade and Bosh. And so now we talk about this Heat culture and going after Kyrie and is Dame interested?
Dame
I just don't
Lillard,
think
yeah.
that's their formula.
Yeah.
I don't think that's their formula. And I don't know how they get that young guy because they don't draft high enough for it. Somebody's going to have to make a really just stupid mistake, or they somehow get themselves into the top 5 or top 10. But whatever name you mention, I think they are still going to wind up in the same spot. They've been in 2 finals, Michael, you said, and Kurt, you take it from here. They've been in 2 finals in 4 years. And in both of those finals, they lost to the Lakers in 6 games. In that game 6, Jimmy Butler, a little silent. I think he had 12 points in game 6 in the bubble. And this one, ooh, that last minute, I think he would want that one back. So they really haven't been competitive. They've made it to the finals, Kurt, but it's hard to say they are this close to winning a championship.
Yeah, by the way, he wouldn't talk about it. He would never own it. He, in fact, refused to accept that this was an excuse, but that ankle was an issue. He did not have the same lift he had against Milwaukee.
I was wondering why he was self-checked. He was self-checking late in the Celtics series and a lot of this one. A lot of driving and kicking. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I think that was it. I mean, it helps that that's a big front line. It's a huge Denver team, and people ignore that. But I think the ankle was an issue. Beyond that, with the Heat, I've heard the same things, that they want to go, look, they think they need another star, and they can try to do this with Jimmy Butler. Lillard's an obvious easy fit, but I hate talking about him because I don't think he leaves Portland. They want to keep him. Guys, what about Bradley Beal? Do you think
he's the East Coast Damian Lillard? I think they both like being talked about whether or not they're gonna leave more than they're gonna actually leave.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Natalie, you want the last word on this one?
Yeah, I wouldn't go with Brad Beal. I don't know who it is. I do think they need another true star to pair with Jimmy. If Dame somehow becomes available, to me, it would be Dame. I don't think Kyrie fits their culture. I don't think Brad Beal is good enough, because if you think about whoever they're going to go up against in the East or potentially the West, if it's a Brad Beal, even if it's a Dame Lillard and Jimmy Butler, none of them will be the best player on the court. If you're going up against the Nuggets, if you go up against the Warriors, the Lakers, the Bucks, one of those other teams will likely always have the best player on the floor. So he definitely needs a second co-star.
Yeah.
Hey, Kurt,
Helin, you're a star.
Kurt.
We appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Oh,
hey,
go
Kurt,
ahead, Michael.
real quick, tell me, hey, what the hell were the officials thinking on that 3-pointer from Butler when he kicked somebody in the groin?
I won't use the word I was going to use. Hell if I know. I will just say those of us on press row were like, well, I was looking at the guys on the press row, and I'm not going to name drop. We were all like, are you kidding me? We wanted to actually ask the officials after the game, but then it was kind of moot and inappropriate because I don't see how they got there. That was weird.
Oh.
Yeah.
They were thinking we needed a 6-game series.
Yeah. I thought that. I was like, man, they better not cost Denver a championship on this. That was
I was worried about eating our words from yesterday, Michael, because we were talking like it was a foregone conclusion. Knowing good and well Miami wasn't going to lay down.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.